Good morning and welcome to today's video. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Rebecca and I'm a homeopath and a QTT personal development coach and mentor. And I use all three methods to help you and your family to be as well and as happy as you can be and stay that way. So today's video is part of a series of videos that I do. Once a month, we go into a little bit more depth into one of the most useful remedies for you to use at home for home prescribing. And one of my passions is to actually teach as many of you how to use homeopathic remedies yourselves to treat minor illnesses in the family. And these videos are part of that commitment. I can see someone's joined me. I don't know who it is, so maybe you could introduce yourself or just send me a thumbs up or a heart or anything you like, really, smiley face, just to let me know that you're there and you can hear me. That would be brilliant. Okay, so yes, today's video is part of my commitment to teaching as many people as possible how to use homeopathic remedies. And part of how I do that is I teach courses on how to use remedies yourselves. And the courses are based around these little kits from Helios Pharmacy. They're 36 remedy kits, and they're absolutely brilliant kits. They cover every eventuality of minor illnesses, and they're a great starting point if you're committed to treating your family naturally. It's how I started, how I got into homeopathy in the first place many, many years ago. So if you're interested in that course, obviously I'm not running them live at the moment, but it exists online. It's a whole series of videos and written exercises. And also you get membership to an online support group. And I can... Who is that I'm seeing? Oh, Noel Crosby. Good morning, Noel. How are you? So you're very welcome. I hope you're bearing up in this time of strangeness. You must be missing the cafe. Okay. So today's remedy I chose for a couple of reasons, really. One is because it's actually not in the kits. And I've always wondered why not, because although it's a very small remedy, it's a very useful one to have. And when I say it's a small remedy, I mean that the majority of the remedies in the kit, the basic kit like that, actually have a multitude of uses. They can treat all sorts of different complaints depending on how similar the picture is in some respects. So that's one of the things that obviously you learn on the course. And I've put a link to find out more details about that online course in the post with this video. And if you do want to know more or ask questions, please do. You can put those in the comment thread below, or you can email me, rebecca@homeopathygiveswings.com. So today's remedy is Euphrasia, and it's a remedy that's most well known for treating eye complaints. And you'll come on to understand why. Mostly eye complaints, but it does actually treat a variety of other complaints that are all based around catarrhal issues. So it's the mucous membranes of the body that are affected when we think of Euphrasia. And I chose it this month because this week, actually, we have been concentrating on hay fever as something to start thinking about, even if you're not exhibiting symptoms yet. Good morning, Valeria. Hello, I'm just going to press you a wave there. You're very, very welcome. And I know that you know about homeopathic remedies as well. And you've probably used Euphrasia at some stage in your life. I don't know. Have you, Valeria? Let me know. It's quite a common remedy, and it's also used herbally as well in lots of different countries. Its common name is eyebright. So that gives you a clue as to what it's useful for. Good morning. So basically, the reason I chose it is because of the hay fever season. It's upon us, even though obviously our minds might be on bigger issues. There are certain people who continue to suffer from hay fever or seasonal allergies. Oh, yeah, and Valeria's saying, yes, we used it in Serbia. Yeah, I thought you probably would. The way that I treat hay fevers and seasonal allergies is I treat people on two different levels. So we give quite deep acting. Good morning, Eileen. You're very welcome. We treat people on a very deep level to address the root causes of the hay fever and the allergy, if you like. And we try and do that during the months when symptoms are not active. So mostly during the winter months, although obviously people have different triggers and you might not be experiencing symptoms at all quite yet. So if you're in the situation where you know you're going to have some kind of allergy coming up in the summer months, then now is the time to start thinking about treatment. It's never too late. It doesn't matter how long you've had allergies for. It's never too late to tackle it. In my experience, most people, depending on how long they've had hay fever or allergies for, if you're treating on the deep level plus taking remedies to alleviate symptoms when they're active, then really within, I would say, 2 to 5 years, most people find they don't have symptoms anymore. Or in a few cases, they're so reduced that you don't really need to take anything for them. So if you know anyone that suffers from hay fever or seasonal allergies, then do encourage them to try homeopathy. And if anybody wants to have a chat with me about it, then they can just go onto the website, homeopathygiveswings.com, and they can register for a free phone call with me, and we can just have a chat and see how I can help. So, good morning, Aileen. I'm going to give you a wave there. You're very, very welcome. We're talking about Euphrasia this morning. Small remedy, but very useful remedy, and one that I would advise that anyone who's using homeopathy at home would get as a supplement to their home prescribing kits. So, okay, eyebright is what it's called. It comes from a small plant, very pretty plant actually. It's in the same family as the foxglove family actually. And it's so named, we think, because due to the doctrine of signatures, which is a system of herbal medicine that came about round about 15th, 16th century, the markings on the flowers, which are kind of yellow and purple markings, they make the flowers look a little bit like eyes. And according to the doctrine of signatures, that's an indication that the plant's medicinal properties would be useful for eyes. It's not the whole doctrine of signatures, but in this case, that's pretty much what led people to it, I think. So it's been used over the centuries herbally, both applied topically, so a plant tincture, and applied with, it's diluted and it's applied topically. Not meant for ingestion, so in that form, although over the years there were teas made from it, which were written about in the 18th century. There was an Elizabethan age wine made from eyebright. And there was also a beer, I think, a kind of ale that was made from eyebright. And traditionally, it was used actually by a number of different indigenous peoples across the world, including the Maori people. It was used in the form of eyesight being like insight, really. So it was used to encourage a kind of second sense or a greater ability to see things and to empathize with them. It was used to help the spirit leave the body in the time of dying, and it was also used to help exorcise evil spirits from our bodies. So that it was used for that kind of sight, if you like, second sight, clairvoyance, as well as for actual eye complaints. So obviously, I hope you won't be using it for treating any of those things. But we all know, at some point or another, kids get a lot of things wrong with their eyes. They can get conjunctivitis, blepharitis, if you have any kind of allergy or hay fever, and the eyes are very affected, so they can be red and swollen and lots of tears, lacrimation we call it. So clear, runny tears coming from the eyes, but obviously the person isn't actually crying. Then that's when you'd think of euphrasia. And you can also have the same kind of watery discharge from your nose. So pouring nose, pouring eyes. The discharge from the eyes can be burning. It's usually quite acrid, so it can hurt. It can really sting and burn. But from the nose, it is bland. So if you have that kind of funny, well, it hurts from the eyes, but it's fine from the nose. Now Valeria is saying very, very efficient with kids. Yeah, absolutely. So any kind of sign of that kind of thing going on with an eye. And also I know with conjunctivitis, because you'll get this kind of pussy stuff that makes the eyes stick together. So you might find that, with kids when they wake up in the morning, that the eyes are actually stuck together and you have to bathe it. You can do that, obviously with just warm salty water or something like that. But if you can get hold of euphrasia tincture, or even you could actually dilute a euphrasia homeopathic pill in a little bit of warm water and just gently bathe the eyes to free them, make them open. And Valeria is saying euphrasia was in our first aid kit for years when the boys were little. With pets as well, yes, interesting. Yeah, I've used it actually on both my dogs that I had. I don't have them anymore, sadly, but both of them, when they got things in their eyes and it became a little bit infected, then euphrasia was used for that. And the beauty of it is, because we don't really want to be messing with eye stuff on a topical level, unless we absolutely have to, it's much gentler to be able to take euphrasia in a pill form and have the body clear that infection for itself. It works, if it's the right remedy, it works actually really quickly. So yeah, beautiful. So the doctrine of signatures, I'm just thinking about, are there any other things that I've missed? It's also, when you get hay fevers and allergies and things that include hoarseness, catarrh, so kind of hawking up catarrh, anything like that, then it can be a loose cough, so it sounds quite mucousy, and you've got those tears and those kind of red, swollen, sticky eyes, then think of euphrasia. It has been used for a lot deeper conditions as well, actually, including epilepsy, which is interesting. And it doesn't have a lot of mental emotional symptoms. Actually, it's not one of those remedies that has a huge mental emotional picture, but it can have a few symptoms that you might see. But because you're dealing with acutes, then that's less likely, really. But it can be, the person can be quite confused, and easily frightened if they wake up in the night. So you might see that in a child. And sometimes I think that's to do with the fact that when our eyesight is compromised in any way, excuse me, then it can be confusing. It can be quite scary as well. And if we're so inclined, then our imaginations can start going, especially in the dark and when we're half awake. So look for those couple of things. The other strange symptom, which I haven't actually seen myself, but it can be people can want to repeat sentences or repeat words. They kind of feel like people aren't really understanding them, and they can get a little bit repetitive with their language. So now, physical symptoms is a different story. There are actually lots of physical symptoms. Some of them I've described to you. The main thing is to be looking at the eyes. It does have an affinity with the mucous membranes, but so the mucous membranes of the nose, the eyes and the chest, as well as actually even the intestines. So it has been used to treat catarrhal affections or infections of the gut, as well as the eyes and the chest. It is a really useful remedy in measles. And I know we don't often see measles these days, although there have been sporadic reports of outbreaks, but measles can affect the eyes greatly, actually, and there's actually blindness in some kids who have had measles. Not often in the West, I have to say. Usually when people are affected by these childhood diseases in such an extreme way, it's because they're already compromised in some way. But measles does affect the eyes, and it can give a sort of conjunctivitis type symptom, and Euphrasia is very, very useful for that. Also, if you have an eye complaint going on where there are little blisters on the cornea of the eye, then Euphrasia is fantastic for clearing that. And obviously with all these eye complaints, the vision can go, so there's a kind of dimness or blurriness to the vision. And one of the modalities for this remedy, so one of the things that people are better for or worse for, and those are the kind of things you're looking for when you're trying to find the right remedy, is that people are often much better for blinking. So they're blinking away the tears and the discharge, or for wiping their eyes, because obviously if it's pouring out, then it's very uncomfortable, and wiping the eyes helps. Good morning, Rosie. How are you? We're learning about Euphrasia today, so it's a lovely eye remedy, homeopathic remedy. So I hope you're all okay over there in the UK, and the family's all well, and you're able to enjoy each other. So, okay, Euphrasia symptoms we're talking about. So the eye pains, it has some kind of strange symptoms, because you can have eye pains alternating with tummy pains when you're thinking about Euphrasia. So if you get that, then think of this remedy. You can get swelling of all the affected parts. So you could have a swollen throat, swollen eyes. You can have a sensation of swelling in the respiratory tract, in the chest, anywhere there are mucous membranes, basically. You can get nausea as well. And the nausea is much, much worse for being around smoking or smoking yourself. It's quite a marked symptom, and interestingly, it's actually the same family, or its elements are the same as the plant known as plantago, which is a big smoking or anti-smoking remedy. So you might see that, you might not. It can also help noises in the ear. So when there's all those mucous membranes being activated and being aggravated, and you're making mucus in your head, in your eustachian tube, then it can actually cause tinnitus, so ringing or bubbling noises in the ears. So if you've got kind of hay fevers and colds and catarrhal conditions that have that as a symptom, then think of Euphrasia. It can have burning pains, not only in the eyes, but if you've got something that's inflamed in the mucous membranes of the gut, then you're likely to experience burning rectal pain as well. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. And all that discharging and the mucous membranes being overactive can also cause headaches. So you can get a very heavy headache, and sometimes a kind of sensation of the head being hollow, kind of weird, but people do actually describe that as a sensation. So I'm just checking what else I have got. Yeah, we've got the agglutination, as it's known, of the eyes. So waking up with the eyes stuck together. So that, although that liquid coming out of the eyes it looks clear and watery, but it's actually very sticky, and it will make the eyes stick together if you've been sleeping or resting or whatever. Hoarseness, difficulty breathing, that loose cough with lots of expectoration coming up. And also sometimes you can get a kind of external trembling or all over the body. So, of course, all of those symptoms put together, very similar to some colds, some hay fevers, and even flu. And obviously you can get all of those symptoms when you have measles. And that's another symptom that Euphrasia can help with, is just that those raised lumps and bumps on the face in particular. So it also can help in menstrual problems. If you've got eye symptoms instead of where you would normally have a menstrual bleed, that's a Euphrasia symptom, which is quite interesting. It can help where there is a loss of periods completely, but you've got eye symptoms going on. You can have not total loss, but very, very short periods. So sometimes people can bleed for like an hour or a day, and then it's over. So scanty periods and eye infections, think of Euphrasia. There is pain in the eyes, and that pain is much worse for blowing the nose. So if you think about everything being stuffed up and, you know, working overtime with that, all that liquid going on, then if you're blowing the nose, you're applying pressure to that whole area, and it creates pain. And again, because that's overproducing, when you're lying down at night and you've been lying for some period of time, when you wake up, you can almost feel like you're suffocating from all the mucus. So again, that's a Euphrasia symptom. It has been used for prostate problems as well, which are usually to do with catarrhal stuff. And it also can affect the kidneys and the bladder. So you can have very frequent urination, and actually really large amounts. So if you've got all that going on with your hay fever symptoms or your colds or your eye infection, then Euphrasia will sort it all out. If you do have nausea, then that might be because of the amount of the mucus that you're swallowing. And sometimes it can manifest as when you're trying to clear that mucus, you're kind of gagging as you do that. You can even vomit mucus. So that's kind of the extreme end of Euphrasia, because there'll be lots of, with most remedies, there's a kind of scale. So there'll be the minor things at the bottom end, and then you can go into a full-blown picture where you're kind of doing all of these things. But at each level, then Euphrasia is very, very helpful. So, as you would expect, probably with eye symptoms, there's a kind of level of photophobia. So they're very sensitive to sunlight, and quite sensitive to artificial light as well. Sensitive to wind. So especially a warm southerly wind. Because the eyes are already burning, the last thing you want, obviously, is a warm wind on it. And warmth in general, they're not mad on, because it's not very comfortable. Symptoms tend to get worse in the evening, and feel maybe a little, apart from the eyes being stuck together, maybe feel a little bit better in the morning. And they don't want to be touched, mostly. So, better for bathing the affected parts with cold water. That burning eyes soothed by cold water bathing, gently. Soothed by drinking cold water as well. Despite the aggravation from the wind, they actually feel better if they're in the fresh air. As I said, winking or blinking the eyes, wiping the eyes, and being in darkness, all modalities of Euphrasia, including lying down. So if you've got all those symptoms going on, then do think of giving this lovely, lovely remedy. Apart from a desire for sweets, which you might see, might not, don't know, difficult to tell in a lot of kids, I'm not sure what other kind of emotional symptoms you'll actually witness. So you're really looking at the physical symptoms with this particular remedy. That's about it. I hope that you've learnt something about Euphrasia today, and that you'll be moved to add it to your basic kit. So you're talking about these kind of basic kits, or I know some people have their own kits that they've made up from collections of remedies over the years, and that's absolutely fine as well. The kits are really handy, I find, because you can just pop them in the car. I keep mine in the glove compartment of the car, although not so handy these days because I'm not going out very much, if at all. But they're a great thing to have, and it's really useful to be able to know how to use them properly. So again, if you're interested in learning with me on my online course, then do click on the link that is in the post with this video. If you've got any questions at all, then fire away. I'll give it a couple of minutes before I sign off. If you're watching the replay, thank you very much for watching, and it's not too late to post your questions, so pop them in the comment thread and I'll get back to you. And I wish you all a really, really happy Easter. Try not to eat too much chocolate, although it's a bit difficult these days. Yeah, enjoy. And I know in the UK you're having fabulous weather. Ours isn't so great today. It's a little bit grey, but I'm hoping to actually get out for my hour's walk daily later on. So I wish you a happy Easter, and thank you very much for watching and joining me. Take care. Bye.